All right. This story is simply titled Innocent. On Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, a group of four hikers found a suitcase discarded near Jefferson Lake, Colorado. Upon breaking it open and having seen the contents, they immediately turned it over to local authorities. While several pieces of evidence from this case have yet to be made publicly available information, a select few have been in an attempt to gather leads, including several small glass vials, a 2-inch pocket knife with the initials RFD engraved on its wooden handle, a large ladle, a pair of well worn leather loafers, men's size 10, pairs of between 3 to 8 individuals, an NIV pocket Bible, and finally a loose collection of notebook papers with handwritten text. All of the context of the case have been confirmed to have traces of human blood on them. The remainder of this document will be dedicated to the oration of the papers that were found in the case, having been pieced together in what is presumably the correct order. Looking back on my life, feels like the majority of it was pulled straight from a bad comedy. Confused, pointless comedy consisting of a man constantly toiling in the dark, to find the answers to the simplest of questions, ones we should have already known the answers to, ones that were as obvious as a fog hole on the open ocean, ones that he would eventually be able to answer so very easily as if reciting his name or the number of fingers on his hands. For so long, so very, very long, I was the lead to that pathetic excuse for a comedy. But now, the curtains have closed. It all started with my genius of a mother. I remember distinctly that the first part of my childhood, she was kind and constantly attentive. I wanted for nothing and was always cared for deeply, passionately. We never fought or argued, save for the rare few times when I felt particularly incensed by the presence of vegetables on my plate. I would complain and cry and scream, but she would never raise her voice or lash out. She would simply say something to the tune of, "You have to eat your vegetables. You are what you eat, so you need to eat something that will keep you healthy." Though even then, I noticed that she didn't like to say it, that something was a bit off. In fact, looking back, she never particularly liked giving more realistic answers to my questions at the time. I suppose I understand why now, but back then, these few moments of clarity seemed strange to me. Then came my 10th birthday. On that day, there was no cake, no presents, no happy tunes or motherly love. No. On that day, there was nothing but mother crying to herself in her room. Any time I knocked or called out to her, she would simply snap back, telling me to go away. I didn't know what had happened, why she was acting this way, though I should have. The following morning, she did not smile. She gave no kisses or hugs. She only looked at me with disgust and sadness. I went to school hungry that day, and every day after. Suppers were never more extravagant than a barely warm microwave meal or a bowl of dry cereal. I would ask her why she changed and why she was always angry or sad, and she would simply respond with, "You're not innocent." I at first thought that this was merely something that would pass if I waited long enough, but days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and months to years, and nothing truly changed. I, I longed so desperately for her attention, for her love, but as hard as I tried, as good as my grades, as clean as my record, she would always respond with disdain. "You're not innocent." to every last thing I said to try to get her approval. I would constantly look back, trying to think of what I had done wrong, what I was guilty of, but come up with a blank. I would ask her what I had done wrong, but she would simply make a pained expression, never answering the question. The same treatment never changed. I stopped having her make my meals for me and made my own meals, focusing on nutritional value. Yet nothing changed. I became independent, cleaning my own clothes, cleaning the house, all without her asking. Yet nothing changed. I graduated from middle school at the top of my class, yet nothing changed. I graduated high school as valedictorian, and nothing changed. I went to college and got a degree in economics, and nothing changed. She never congratulated me on my achievements. She never expected anything from me. She simply looked upon me with disdain and sadness, saying, "You're not innocent." I never came to an answer to my questions, though they were right there, right in front of me. I never understood her words and simply stewed, dwelled on them, slowly losing myself to them. Why? Why was I not innocent? I never hurt a fly. I founded my own company and worked to pay my employees fairly. I gave more than half of my income to charity. I did philanthropy, community outreach, youth programs, and founded healthcare for the needy. So why? Why was I not innocent? What was I guilty of? Why did I deserve this treatment from the person that I loved most? The person I did everything I could for. The person I kept well fed, bought a house for, a car for, everything. The person, the person I made sure would never want for anything. Why? Why? For 4 decades into my life, I still couldn't answer why. Eventually, my mother fell ill. In her 80s, then, she didn't have a strong enough immune system to fight it off. And so I soon began to spend most of my time with her, attempting to comfort her as she lay there slowly dying. Yet, even then, even on her deathbed, she didn't speak to me or ask anything. She simply stared off into the distance and struggled with the pain she was in. I eventually brought myself to to ask it one last time. Mother, I've tried to understand your words, understand what your words mean my whole life, yet I still don't understand. Why? Why did you become so distant? Why have you always refused to answer me? Please, I need to know why. I remember distinctly. She turned her head my way, her eyes pale and her voice hoarse. After all this time, you, you still haven't pieced it together. You still don't get it. For a prodigy, you really are quite stupid. Fine, I'll spell it out for you. She paused after this, coughing and gasping from her ailment. Yet, I felt as if the world had lifted away. Mother was finally talking to me. I could finally be free of these nagging questions. Innocence is purity, and purity is youth. To age is to let this fallen world change you from your purest, youngest form. It is age that rusts the strongest metals, renders the tallest mountains to sand, and that rendered my body into this husk. To age is to be tainted. When I saw you age, I saw you become like the rest of us, impure. I wanted to keep you safe from this corruption, but I couldn't bring myself to do the only thing that would have ensured that you weren't corrupted. I was weak, and I let you become like the rest of us. None of us are innocent. We are all tainted. Our our blood is impure. We are not innocent. You are not in- innocent. The blaring sound of her flatlining, the ruckus sound as nurses and a doctor rushed to her room. The feeling of my tears streaming down my face rendered me completely dumbstruck. I was paralyzed with grief, but more so with a newfound purpose, an all encompassing understanding of my life. Everything clicked into place, and the curtains closed on that sick, futile comedy that was my life up until then. She only became disgusted and saddened by me when I got older, when I had lived in this fallen world for a decade. I knew at that moment that I had to find a way. I had to find a way to become innocent again. I had to be rid of this tainted blood, tainted by the world, tainted by age. If I was to honor her, the one I loved, as she lost herself to this vile world, to the sickness that is age, I had to find out how to become pure. I had to become innocent again. And yet, I replaced my blind questions with clarity that only inspired more questions. How would I become innocent again? I was once again left dwelling on her words, over and over and over again. I spent many sleepless nights trying to piece together this puzzle. The first question I answered was, if to age is to be tainted, then what was the one solution she spoke of? How could that corruption have been stopped? So long I pondered this, but I eventually remembered some little fragments of my childhood that made the answer clear. All the little times my mother looked at me, seemed pained, and was near the kitchen knives. All the time she was preparing a nice dinner and looked toward the medicine cabinet over and over again, but never opened it. Oh, it became so very clear why she was weak and why she could never bring herself to do it. I could not have been corrupted if I had been taken, no, no, released from this world before I could age. It is very clear now why she couldn't bring herself to save me. But, but I am not weak as she was, and I know many who I can save from this world's corruption. The second question I answered was, if my blood, my body is tainted by this world, by age, by this impurity, if I am already tainted, is it ever possible to become innocent again? Oh, again and again I gnawed on this question until the answer came to me. Oh, yes, did it ever come to me? For the blood to be tainted, the person would have to age. In other words, those who were pure have pure, untainted blood. The innocent are pure, and the innocent are those I need to save. But how could I be innocent again? How could I make her life meaningful by becoming innocent again? How? Oh, oh, but I found the answer. Killed, I killed two birds with one stone. One stone, you see. And I'm finally innocent. Thanks to my mother, thanks to her words, thanks to my carefully honed memories, I am innocent again, and I have saved so many from losing their innocence. They have helped me, yes, they have helped me too. Thanks to mother, thanks to those I've saved, I am innocent again. My blood isn't tainted. My blood isn't tainted anymore. How could it be tainted anymore? Af- After all, you are what you